Hi everybody, I'm Ben Pearce. Now, over the last few months, I've had the real privilege to do some mentoring of some people. People that are either aspiring to become people managers, people that are earlier on in their people management career, and just people that love learning. So I've been doing some mentoring, and one of the common questions that often comes up is what books, would I recommend, or what training courses, or what things have I done that I now use? Because you read loads of books and you forget half of them. You go on loads of training and half of it's rubbish. So what are the really good things that have stayed with me and I find that I use? So I thought I'd share that with you. So I divided them. I think there's about 9 books that spring to mind, or training courses. And so I thought I would share them with you. And I've broken them really into 3 categories. First one is kind of my own personal productivity, so things that help me be awesome or just cope. The second around then leadership and I guess getting results through others, and then the final ones are just a couple of technology books. So I'm going to start with the personal productivity books. So the first book or training that I would recommend, I went on when I was fresh out of university, and it was training by a chap called Nicholas Bate. This is his book, Being the Best, and I think he runs a company called Strategic Edge, where he does a lot of training on work-life balance and how to be productive. Now, I went on this course fresh out of university and had no idea how useful it would be when I got older. I didn't do loads with it, but it talks about how to deal with work-life balance, talks about tips for focus, for de-stressing, for coping with all the things that are going on. And then I found as I became a people leader, as I became a dad, as I got mortgages and all of these extra responsibilities piled up, all this training that I had learned back when I was 21, and I've got a copy of this book on my bookcase, is absolutely useful. So Being the Best by Nicholas Bate on coping with work-life balance and getting your goals and priorities right. That's the first one. Second one, and this is hardly a surprise. I think a few million people have bought this book, but the good old 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And a couple of things just really spring out that time and time again, I just remember it and use it. First one is about being independent. So often we depend on the others as a crutch, whether that be a manager, whether that be somebody else in the business, whether that be a wife, whatever it might be. And it's about being independent and being strong in what you believe and what you think. And that's a great thing that comes out of this book. Second bit I love about this book, particularly for me, where I often need to engage my brain before I engage my mouth, is seek first to understand and then, of course, to be understood. And then the other one that I always sort of think about when I start off a new project or a new piece of work is the old begin with the end in mind. So loads of great things in this book, 7 Habits. Big fan of this book. This book, Getting Things Done, by Dave Allen. I went on a training course probably 2 or 3 years ago to do this, and it's fundamentally changed the way that I work. So I'm not the best, I don't follow absolutely everything to the letter in the book, but I use a lot of the things that are in this book, and I find that I'm a lot more productive. And this is the really important thing, from all the work I've got to do, and there's too much for me to do, I'm now in a position where I know what I'm doing and I also know what I'm not doing. But that's okay, because I've chosen not to do that. As opposed to everything being a bit of a jumble, I don't really know what I'm doing and what I'm choosing not to do, and therefore I forget important things. And this is what this book is all about. Really great book, worth reading. And then the final one in this section, mindset. So, and this is really, Satya Nadella, who is now the CEO of Microsoft, has brought this in when he became CEO to try and bake it into the culture. and it is so refreshing, and it's really, really good. And it's the idea of basically being a bit like a child, which is probably why I quite like it. So it's about, admitting when you make mistakes, knowing that you make mistakes, learning from them, constantly wanting to grow, as opposed to what you sometimes see in corporate culture of brand protection and trying to look successful in everything that you do. And I absolutely love that. So those books are my personal productivity favourite books. So the books then that about leadership or how to influence others, and there's a few that crop up that I use time and time again. First one, Servant Leader, by James A. Altry. Really good book. And, again, things come up from it again and again. I find myself looking it up. There's loads of great stuff in there about missions and values of teams when you're running teams. Loads of good stuff in there about command and control on one side, right all the way to doing everything by committee, that takes forever. And that kind of balance between command and control not being effective, but then trying to do absolutely everything by committee not being effective. So loads of great stuff in The Servant Leader, and that's one of my go-to leadership books that I look at again and again. This book I got a few years ago, ADKAR, which is just a change management book. But again, it's really simple, and I just love these really simple things that I can remember in my head and then apply to situations. And basically, ADKAR stands for whenever you want to go through any change. A is awareness of the problem and making people aware of the problem. D is somehow giving them a desire to want to change that problem. K is, right, we need a bit of knowledge about how we're going to do this. Then A stands for then a bit of ability. We need to go through and actually do something. And A stands for reinforcement. Something really simple. And whenever I'm trying to make any change or whenever I'm trying to go through any transformational stuff, this is the place that I start. And then this one, and this is training that I've done, Discovery Insights. So it's a bit like Myers-Briggs. It's based on the work of Carl Jung, which a lot of these types of things are. Where they try to assess you, tell you your strengths, tell you your blind spots, make you understand different personality types, and how best to try and work with those different personality types. And I find this one really useful because it breaks it out simply, which is a theme, I think, of this, and something that I use a lot. And then the final two I wanted to talk about are two technology books that have been very influential on me in the past few years. The first one is, if you have not yet embraced cloud, and you're still of the view a bit like this, there is no cloud, it's just somebody else's computer. If that's your kind of thought process at the moment, then the book to help you overcome that, Consumption Economics, The New Rules of Tech. So really good book talking about the new business model behind IT as we move from the old on-premise buying boxes of software through to subscription models and cloud computing. If you've not read the book and you're not really up with the cloud computing stuff, absolutely brilliant book that takes you through that. And then the book that it feels like I am living in at the moment. So this is the book of the time for me, is The Phoenix Project. And it's a brilliant book. It's a bit of a different book because it's a novel, but it's a novel about getting DevOps to work in IT, which sounds, and I know it sounds like it should be really lame, but it's actually really good, really helpful. And when I'm working with customers or working with my team, often I feel like I am living this book. And so at the moment, as a lot of companies are trying to move from legacy IT to cloud-based IT and sort of DevOps, this book is absolutely brilliant. Well, that's it. Give me a shout if you've got any questions about any of those books. I hope this was useful, or if not useful, just mildly interesting. Thanks very much. I'm Ben Pearce.